our product was super early, but I know from my previous background that if you announce something first, that's gonna stay.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Founders Journey series. UpTech Report is sponsored by Terraleap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, this is our second part episode. Definitely go back and listen to part one of my guest, Yoav Vilner, who's based in Tel Aviv. He's the CEO and co-founder at Walnut. Their product is a no-code platform to create customized and interactive sales demos of software. Good to have you on again, man.
Thanks. It's been a while.
Now, this is a continuation of our discussion, hearing more about your journey. What I wanted you to do is take us back, go back all the way as far as you'd like, and help me understand, like, what were the data points and the trajectory that got you where you are today, that your third company that you've run and started, and launching this whole new category, not your first time in a new category too.
Yeah. So I tend to say that I got a little bit lucky when I was 22. Because I just wanted to do some freelance marketing for startups, and it ended up being the biggest and the first company in Tel Aviv to do that. So
you're the first company in Tel Aviv to do any marketing for SaaS tech companies.
Yeah.
Oh, so you hit the market before anyone else there was, which meant that you actually had a lot of opportunity for growth. That really did it scale quickly?
It scaled. It's not a VC business, so scale was like, it's relatively speaking, but for me, it was a roller coaster. Like, it was just me and a friend. We wanted to be freelancers, and everyone needed it while nobody else was doing it, while a lot of Israeli startups were starting to, raise really significant rounds and become the startup nation that it is now. So all of that together and the brand that we built caused about 600 startups to hire us. And we grew to be dozens of employees with offices in London and Manhattan. So I was the CEO there for like 7 years. And during that time, I was invited to be like a mentor and advisor in most of the different startup accelerators, and write about my marketing experience in publications such as Forbes magazine, Inc. magazine, CNBC, and more.
That was Ranky. Is that correct?
That was Ranky.
Gotcha. And then you go on from there saying, I'm ready for my next thing. How did you kind of leave that? You sold your part of it? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I did. I came back from Manhattan to Tel Aviv. I've done a lot of thinking in Manhattan. It was like the best year of my life living there because it's just an amazing place. And I told my co-founder in Ranky, I think I'm done here. And he was like, but you are Ranky, like you're the guy, like you're the CEO of that. And since it's not a VC business, all you have is you. So if you're out, everyone's out. And I told him that I'm totally aware of that, but he can keep doing it. And we're still good friends up until now. And he kept on doing it for a while. But for me, it was about just selling my share and moving on to something more like technology based.
You just had a desire to create something versus just service-based, continuing on that with that.
Exactly.
The trajectory brought you to the anti-bullying startup. That was the next venture that you started?
Right. So I actually had a different idea for a startup. I was really excited about enabling. Well, first of all, I'll say thank God I haven't actually done that startup, even though I was offered a seed round for that. But it was about helping what is now referred to digital nomads, like, the cool people that are traveling, no strings attached. They live anywhere, they work anywhere. So I wanted to enable a lifestyle that will help them optimize, where they're going next and where they're going to make more money, pay less taxes, better accommodation, like build your the upcoming years of your life. And it's a super cool idea, but imagine if I've done that and then Corona. So nobody was traveling for a year.
So you're kind of glad that you didn't push that into that one too much.
Yeah, so that was my idea. I was really proud of it, even though it's not a good idea right now, when I look back. And I was talking to like investors that I know, angel investors that I know here in Tel Aviv. And one of them, which is a pretty well-known tech figure, sold a company for like 400 million. And he's also a star on the Israeli version of Shark Tank. So I came to him with the idea, and he said, listen, it's cool, but I'll also have you know that I want to build a startup designed to save kids from pedophiles. And we're missing a co-founder that can be CMO. And I was starting to question the idea that I had. Plus, not actually having a CTO yet in place was also like a setback. And you know, these guys have made companies worth a lot of money, and I was like, he knows how to build big things, saving kids. Who wouldn't want to do it, right? Who wouldn't want to be remembered for saving kids? And then we just built a startup. We raised a pretty significant seed round relatively to 2.5 years ago, which was 15 million. Today, yeah, this year it's like a pre-seed or a bootstrap, but,
Wow.
but yeah, so it turned out to be a really, you know, massive. It was all about scaling very fast. So it turned out being like 50 or 60 people, mostly PhDs and data scientists. But after like 1.5 years, I just realized that I need to build my own thing again and be the CEO and make the tough decisions, because that was not the case. I just had like an easy life going on. I'm the CMO. Everybody want to work with us. It's a cool brand. You're building a category no one else even knows how to do. It was just a little bit too easy, and I just wanted to challenge myself with launching a new startup.
Well, what a statement to say is too easy. There's a lot of people that want an easier lifestyle or easier job, but you're like, no, give me something hard. Give me something to chew on. That's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So then you decide to launch the next. How long actually was that from when you decided to leave to start Walnut? Did you already have that in mind? Okay, you did.
Yeah, it was about 1.5 years until I actually put it through.
Okay, walk me through like the points of the stages of first the idea, then finding co-founders. What was that timeline look like?
So lucky for me, when I was nearing the end of my period at my previous startup, another very bright technology guy here in Tel Aviv that I've known for a while, and I knew about the companies that he was involved with were pretty well-known acquisitions that happened. And he was also working on the enterprise side. So he had like executive tech roles in big companies. So he was also starting to look for his next thing. And we started talking, and him and a mutual friend that I had was about to launch a startup, decided they're not going to do it. And that was the timing where I felt it's perfect for me to build my next thing.
So you already knew these different folks, and you're like, all right, they're ready, they're available. Let's pull this together.
Yeah, but before it sounds too easy, so in that round that I had when I wanted to build something for digital nomads, I was dating CTOs for like 5 months, and it's probably the worst 5 months of my life.
Why? Why do you say that?
You know how people hate dating, like the regular type? So this is even worse. Like, you have to decide who you're gonna marry, and it's people that you don't even know yet. It's terrifying to do that. Mm-hmm. It takes so much time to know if you're completing each other in the technology, in the experience level, in the personal level, how you're gonna overcome obstacles. You have no idea. It's like marrying someone on the first date, and I always felt that I'm not able to be as brave, and they felt the same way. So it was like, the weeks have gone by, but no one was able to make a decision.
Mm-hmm. So it's still obviously early in the journey, but what made you suddenly click with then the CTO and co-founders that you have right now?
So first of all, knowing each other from before, not as the closest friends, but knowing each other from before, at least from the industry, he was super helpful. I was very, I appreciated the stuff he's done before. He appreciated the stuff that I've done before. I have my technology. Yes, he has his technology and product and all these capabilities that I don't have. And I have this, marketing and business and raising funds and everything. And we just it was a very, the problem that we wanted to solve was right on spot. Everything was just, the stars aligned.
I like to hear the story of co-founders how they come together, because there are times where people just say, "Oh, it just clicks, it just works." But it's also helpful to hear that you did have that period of 5 months where you were trying to make things work, but it doesn't always just click. That it takes time. Now, for funding side, that was on you. What was that like to be able to? Was it pretty easy because the idea was just so right time, right place, just like your first one?
I wouldn't say it's easy. It was actually kind of weird because we probably started when Corona was still new and VCs were like shrinking all of a sudden and they were not investing so much. So we thought maybe we should like hold on to doing this round, or maybe we should like, how should we approach the fact that it's not a physical meeting now? It's on this weird thing called Zoom. And it's how can we get a couple of millions of dollars from people that don't know us? So the first thing that we did is talk to people that know us. That's always a better tip. And the second thing is we were, I don't know how to call it, lucky, or, well, I would say lucky, to be, to get the early belief of some of the brightest investors that we know. And it was all through either our personal connections or our best, colleagues' personal connections.
And you did a 2.5 million seed round, was that correct?
It was a 6 million.
6 million. Okay.
Yeah, but the 2.5 was the original amount we had in mind.
Wow.
And another 3.5 just like a month or two after when we launched, and it was a very successful launch.
And to think that's a seed round, that it is the starting point. Obviously, people saw the potential. From there, though, I remember you mentioning, and I actually saw your launch campaign seemed to have worked really well in order to create such interest and a wait list. And a lot of founders would love to have that same wait list that you had. Obviously, you're pulling from your experience of helping 600 other tech companies in the past. How did it work? Why did it work?
That's a cool question. I was very, very lucky to see the ins and outs of hundreds of startups in different industries, trying to do different things with different budgets. And it's very natural to me now to launch in such a way. Just, it's just based on a gut instinct. It's not even something that I can. If I would help another startup right now, I'm not sure that my tips would be any good. But if I was in their place and it was, on my back to do this right, then I probably would. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not just one formula. It's not like if you publish on TechCrunch or go on Product Hunt, the magic will happen. But I think you have to combine a lot of different things. And I'll just talk about what we've, the approach that we took is, first of all, the wording, the branding that we use in a very, very early stage was very clear. The problem that we solved was very clear. The approach that we took to it was very clear. Like the MVP that we had was really not sophisticated. It was like duplicate your front end and edit something, and you can only do it like on one page. But we were super clear on here's how we're, approaching this problem that no one has solved before, which is something that got VPs and team leaders very excited. The second thing in the formula was being the first to market. So our product was super early, but I know from my previous background that if you announce something first, that's going to stay. And so we went on and, people were saying, aren't you a little bit too early to announce what you're doing? And I just said, nah. And after we launched with a very clear landing page, we started collecting emails and we saw the list growing organically like every day. But the launch that we had was a real turning point. So I was hoping that, in terms of like PR, I was hoping to see like 3 or 4 articles go up and 20 went up. Most of them I have not caused, but they were like, it was like a rolling event. And I was hoping to be somewhere in the top 3 of Product Hunt, but we were number 1 for the entire week and then nominated for like the Golden Kitty Awards for the best product of the year. And alongside the email lists that we had, alongside, publishing on our different networks, each one of us has a lot of, a very big network in different countries and parts of the world. Everything just kind of clicked. And for 3 days, all we did was trying to get what's going on with our waiting list. It ended up being like a 700, 800 company long. And like I said, also had a lot of luck.
Wow. So first one you said, simplicity and clarity of a product. It's very simple. It's very clear of what you're doing. Then the second one was first to market, being able to just announce it, get the attention, and actually, as long as that clarity, I imagine the simplicity of the message is there, it can expand. And then your waiting list gets to 700 folks, B2B companies ready to sign up.
Yeah. And I would
Obviously,
add luck on top of that.
Oh, and luck. It sounds like you already from your first company you started, just the right place, right time, and you're pushing forward. But it's doing everything else right with luck sprinkled in, that the magic can happen. What would you say? Obviously, the tactics change based off of what your different verticals are. But what are you? If you had to do this again or in another way, is there anything you say as far as the tactics that you're like, this, I would recommend this, especially on the trajectory that you've been on?
It's a really good question. Okay. There's a lot of things that I tell founders back from the days of helping out in the different tech hubs and accelerators, but I look at things a little bit differently than most people. Like, for instance, most people will tell you that you don't have to work on brand content, your own personal brand and everything up until you actually validated something with your startup. Like, a lot of investors will tell you you're wasting money if you're not just building the product. And I'll tell you just from my own perspective that you're reducing, like you're really, really shrinking your chances of succeeding if you don't focus on these things right from day one. If you can get a co-founder or a founding team member it's a hardcore marketer and they know how to work under pressure and they know how to work with very low budgets, you can get an edge on your competition that they would need months and months to overcome, because eventually we don't pay for features, and we don't pay for who has raised more money. People are buying from brands, and people are buying from brands they trust, and people are buying from real people that they trust. And I think there's a whole lot of work that you have to do starting day one. Most startups that I knew in my life would start to do it second year, and that's a gap that's really hard to fill.
And when you say that they need to focus on that first part, you're speaking to the team, because I actually heard you say don't necessarily work on the brand until you validate the product. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, there was actually an argument in one of the most popular communities here in the tech scene in Israel, and one founder asked, "What do you guys think about building my personal brand, building my company's brand, even before we've gone to market and launched the beta product?" And a couple of investors were there, like saying, "We would not invest in anyone that would put $1 on his own or the company's brand before there's validation, before there's product market fit." And I really did not agree with them. I think I just saw in my own, I only know what I saw with my own eyes. That's everything that I know. And companies that have illustrated their story, their angle, their category building, why their founders are brilliant people. If you've managed to tell that story early on, I think that your launch is going to be amazing. I think people are going to wait for your launch. I think that people are going to share the fact that you've launched on their social media, as opposed to just being, it's not like the old days where you could work in your garage or under the hood and stay quiet for 2 years and then launch and expect for something to happen.
Wow. So it's almost a shift on the whole ecosystem, how you approach it. So you are recommending focus on sharing your story, your brand building of the category building of what you're working on before you even release the product and the features and what you're doing. Build that awareness so that when you do, there's a following and interest from everyone around you.
Totally my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. I'm intrigued with your approach. Obviously it did work and is working so far for you. from your experience of then building the team, how big is the team today for you guys?
So we're about 22 and we're growing to be 28.
Nice. What can you say as far as the lessons learned in the past year of hiring and finding the right people for the right job?
I haven't seen a lot of founding teams, that are as, I think everyone's is like a character in their own thing, like first of all, the first hire that we had, it was an actual late co-founder, but it was a VP sales. And that was even before we had the MVP. And people were saying, what's the logic behind that, right? You don't need a VP sales. But we're building not just a tech startup, we're building a huge sales organization. And any VP sales is our potential client, and we want to build the product together with them. So now when we have so many clients and we have advisors and we have investors, we get a lot of that. But he was the first guy to actually build this with us.
So hiring someone that is ideally even somewhat related to your end client could help make sure you're building the right product.
Yeah.
I really, really like that. From there, you guys are in a couple of different locations. Where is it? Mostly in Tel Aviv or?
So we're mostly Manhattan, Tel Aviv, and London, and a little bit in the Valley also.
And for you, both the team and marketing outward internationally, what lessons learned have you found of building the right culture and communicating outwardly in an international type of environment?
So, I'm not a fan of this whole remote thing. Like, I just miss the days where you had dozens of people in the same office, like having pizza, making friends, sharing problems, and, so much value in just like the small talks that you get to do in real life that I don't think you can actually do on Zoom and Slack. So first of all, I would love for everything to go back to how it was for people to be in the same office. But you can't really get the best talent right now if you're, just on one location. We try to be as global as we can. So, everything that we do like cross company would happen around midday when everyone can attend. If we're shipping something to our employees here in Tel Aviv, we would also find a solution to, ship it to everyone. If we're announcing something, everyone's exactly the same part of it, no matter where they are in the world. And we're trying to keep the employees close to the market as possible. So our focus is in the US, but so far it's been going surprisingly smooth.
I love you share all these tidbits of wisdom first on announcements and communicating midday, helping with the global hours of folks. And if you're going to send something, make sure you can be able to send it to everybody, if I heard that correct. It's like all these small things that add up to the right culture, the right working environment when you're having to be remote. I'm curious, as a leader, where have you gotten your insights? Is there any books, podcasts, audiobooks that you've read and enjoy and would recommend?
I think the best podcast I heard the past years is Masters of Scale by Reid Hoffman. I don't know. It's just, there's something so unique. He gathers first of all, it's like a storytelling event, right? There's like background noises and weird, all kinds of funky stuff. He turns out to be a very funny person. And he gets like the best founders, ever, the founders of like Spotify and Facebook and everything. And then he just grabs like the best insights from the hour of conversation. And I think that a lot of shows and programs and podcasts and videos, they make you wait a long time until you actually get value. And I think this is something he has managed to do a bit better. So I would recommend that. Besides that, all of the other generic books every founder reads.
I love that. Just generic books, all the ones that read. Last question for you. What kind of future tech predictions do you see happening in the near term, next year or two, and long term, next 5-10 years?
I think that we're starting to see less and less human touch in a lot of industries and aspects of society where there was a lot of friction in the past. And this year has been like a revolution to like expedite everything and make everything much, much faster. So, I think if you take like gig economies and stuff that people do right now, for money without having an official employer and without having to obey any rules. Right now, it's mostly with like food deliveries and laundry and everything. But I think we're going to see it with a lot of things, a lot of aspects of our lives that we can't even imagine right now. We would click a button and someone would go and do that for us. I think that this is a direction that technology is going right now. There's already like a lot of marketplaces for babysitters, for dog sitters, for whatever. But I think we haven't even seen the main part of how it's going to act out, that people are going to make money of doing all kinds of crap for each other. And besides that, I guess that just anything that removes the human touch, so like synthetic people, virtual salespeople running the demo, not having to speak to anyone to get something done. This is how I see things.
The future world with no touch, whether gig economy or synthetic robots being able to deliver content, which is funny because it comes back to what you said earlier, like you miss being able to be connected with people. It's going to be that future of a balance of, yes, let's enable that, but at the same time, still connect.
Exactly.
Intimately, maybe with maybe a smaller group of people versus a larger. What an interesting future. Thank you so much, Yoav, for your insights, to sharing the journey that you've been on. I definitely recommend for those that go back and listen to part 1, our discussion of the product Walnut, knowing more about what they're doing. You can also go to walnut.io to be able to get a demo of their product or be able to get an exploration of that. Thank you so much, Yoav, for being on here. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Alex.
We'll see you guys on the next episode of UpTech Report. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.